Nothing But the Words, episode number 119, Writing and Illustrating Children's Books with Excellence, featuring children's book author Kimberly Wyman. Welcome to Nothing But the Words. I'm your book coach, Candace L. Davis. I hope your week and your writing are both going really, really well. Today, I'm excited to have an interview for you. I'm talking with my new friend, Kimberly Wyman, who is a children's book illustrator and author. So let me tell you a little bit about Kimberly. She's a best-selling author and illustrator of children's books that nurture givers, growers, and gigglers, which I love. Her recent release, Grow Love, was Amazon's #1 new release and #1 bestseller. She has been featured on local TV networks and has been a prominent speaker at community leadership events. Kimberly helps families to connect, reset, and explore with open hearts, eyes, minds, and hands to love, see, respect, and act through her children's books. Ooh, that's good stuff. All right, Kimberly, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. As you're reading that, I was like, that's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but it's like good stuff. Like as a mom and a grandma, like those
Oh, I love
those
that.
those are the kind of books I would want my kids to have their hands on. So tell me how you came to children's books.
I wrote my first book 15 years ago, and
Wow.
it was actually not intended to be a book. It was a letter to my soon-to-be child that I knew nothing about because basically I just knew that I wanted to be a mom. I was single, and so I penned a letter to my future child, not knowing how or when the child would come into my life. And then I ended up adopting my son, and that letter was turned into a children's book. So that is my very first experience with writing children's books.
Okay, so you say that like it was a very simple task to go from letter to children's book. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. So, how did you end up turning that letter, which sounds like a wonderful idea, into a children's book?
Well, when I had written the letter, it was just very personally transformational for me. And so that was really the letter that told me to move forward with becoming a mom and starting the adoption process.
Wow.
And so as I had shared that letter first with close friends, and I got the response of, that's amazing, other people need to hear that letter. To then just kind of talking to people. I was in marketing. I had a international brand strategy business that I had started, gosh, over 25 years ago now. And so I had known people in the writing industry and was talking with them about it. And they're like, it needs to be a book. It needs to be a book. So,
Wow.
of course, the letter was written as a future because I did not know about the child. And so, from a book standpoint, we kind of had to put it past tense so that it made sense to
Okay.
flow reading a book versus the anticipation of, the unknown. And so there were obviously some edits and modifications, but it was based off that. And then, well, anyone can write a book, so I independently published it. Um, and so that part, while not easy, maybe a little bit more simple since I didn't have to go or I did chose not to go the traditional route with submission letters and getting people
Yeah.
to, all of that type of stuff.
I mean, pros and cons to each path, right?
Absolutely.
Pros and cons to each path. But you
100%.
also illustrate your books, correct?
Yes. So again, my background is in design. I had started my first business when I was 20, international brand strategy and design. And so I did all the messaging and artwork for corporations. And so honestly, doing children's books, what I'm doing now, isn't too much different. I'm basically creating messages and images and illustrations for children versus corporations, which just speaks to my heart more personally, anyhow.
Oh, I would never have thought of it that way. Like I would never have
Really?
made no, that that was just so cool the way you just described it. I would never have thought of it that way. That's interesting.
So it was very seamless for me. So I had adopted my son. I lived in Guatemala for a year as his foster mom, came home, started a second adoption process. My daughter was born in Ethiopia. And when she came here, I had sold my business then. And honestly, it felt like such a natural transition. I was truly writing, messaging, key phrases, like all the things and all the design work and imagery and the brand that goes into companies and corporations. And it was just seamless. It was just like, okay, here's a new target audience. They're not, 45-year-old Japanese male. They're now, right, 3 to 8-year-old little ones that,
The
but it's
big
the
difference.
same, but they're people. They're people.
They
So,
are. They are. Okay, so you're making it sound really easy. I don't
okay.
want people to get too excited and think that this is just an easy journey. You just wake up one day and write a children's book. And of course, everyone does not have your design background. And I always
Yes.
recommend that if you don't have a design background, an art background of some kind, that you hire an illustrator, right? So you kind
Yes.
of didn't have to deal with that process, but in your experience, what do you see with illustrations in children's books that maybe we could do better, like some of the things that are better best practices, or maybe we could be doing that we could look for as success strategies for people who are trying to find an illustrator?
Yes. So, and you do have such an excellent and valid point. When it comes to something as simple as page layout, that is my everyday language. I understand what that means. I understand what gutters are. I understand what floods are. I understand. Um, and so you're right. I probably did move past that a little bit on the easy side because that was my industry, that's my profession, that's what I've studied. And so much of that goes into the illustrations, and I really point that out because when you're saying what are you looking for, design style varies so greatly.
Yeah,
So one, it has to resonate with you, it has to resonate with the words of the book. But it could be anything from watercolor to graphic design
yeah,
to sketch. So that part of it I do feel is really personal, and I don't think I can give much guidance on that other than what speaks to your heart and if it matches up with the words and messaging of the story. I think that that's also very important. If you're using very colorful and bold language, having something like a soft sketch and watercolor, that juxtaposition just might not serve you well. It may
yeah,
be confusing to your readers and giving mixed messages. um, so that part, I think it has to speak to your heart. As far as the technical aspect, I think that's what you need to be mindful of when you're
mm,
working with an illustrator. So, something as simple as, and I know that you're like, no kidding, but every page or most pages will have an illustration and words. And the two have to work together. So if you have this phenomenal illustrator that you're working with, and you know that that's who you want to hire to do your book, and that's brilliant, the technical aspect of knowing that the words on the page have to work with the illustrations and to be able to clearly articulate that and make sure that both you and the illustrator are on the same page about that
yeah.
is really important. So sometimes I open up books and it's like this gorgeous illustration, and then literally in Times New Roman 12 down at the bottom there's the words, and it's like,
It doesn't really go together.
no, it feels like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that as well. And I don't have your technical background, so I will see it and not necessarily know why it doesn't work. I just
Okay.
know it doesn't work, right? So
Yes.
you have enough technical background that you can see it and tell somebody. But I think I love your suggestion that it needs to speak to your heart. If you're choosing the art for your book, this children's book that you've poured so much into, right? I mean,
Yep.
people think because people who haven't done it think because it's short that, it didn't require much effort. That's not necessarily the case.
Oh my gosh, you might be arguing it required more. It's hard. You know what? I think I'm an overwriter, and I don't know how many people that you work with, but I think that there's a lot of overwriters,
Yes.
especially when you're sitting down and you're writing and it's like and it can be flowery and beautiful and imaginative and all the things. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I lost myself in that.
Yeah.
A reader is going to get lost in that. And so to, peel that back, rough rule of thumb, there's definitely exceptions for absolutely everything, but just very rough. You can say a picture book is about 1,000 words,
Yeah.
600 to 1,000 words, maybe. So if you've got a really strong message that you're wanting to get across, especially if you've got character development involved, world building involved, that's tricky to do in
Yeah.
that short period of time. And so what do you have to rely on then when you've got limited words? Illustrations,
Illustrations. Oh, so
graphics.
that's interesting. One thing I run into, and give me your opinion on this, and because I
Yeah.
don't do illustrations or anything like that. But when I'm editing a children's book, there are often times when I run into places where I feel like the author is saying what the picture should be showing. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
So I think take advantage of what a picture book is, which is pictures in a book. So to take advantage of that and let pictures speak, let let them speak for themselves. Now, not always can you, but when you can, or something such as simple of, she held up a sign that said stop. She was alarmed. She was alarmed that, she's looked at. Well, you don't necessarily have to say that. I mean, she could literally, with panic or alarm in her face, be holding that stop sign. And then that gives discussion opportunity, which is another thing
Mm,
that I think is so valuable with picture books, is the discussions that can come from it. So many times you're not just reading a book and it's, cover to cover, it's done. You're interacting with the little one that's on your lap. Or in classrooms, picture books are brilliant for classrooms and teaching writing styles, right? I mean, I know all the way through 8th grade teachers who use it to talk about literary styles and different things like that, and reference picture books for that. You're not just reading the words, you're discussing it, you're
yeah.
talking about it. What expression, how does that make you feel? Real world connections and life connections, for the reader and the person that you're, maybe a child that you're reading with. So don't let go of those opportunities. Those
I,
are those are
I
really
could
great.
not agree more. I could not agree more. And that's part of the process of slowing down, right? Because you've gotten out all the information and maybe you needed to write those words so that
Yep.
that's part of the story. But now you got to cut back.
Yep.
You got to
Yeah.
cut back. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I'm just going to put it out there because she knows I talk about this all the time. She's talked about it on the podcast. My sister is also a children's book author. And
Awesome.
we talk about a little bit older age group, but we talk about but they're still picture books. We talk about how in her first book, she just wanted to have all the words in there, just all the words. And as she has written book after book, she has pared down. Each one
Yes.
has fewer and fewer words, but I think they're even more impactful than the first one.
I mean, if you're selecting the right words, that's the goal, right? For
Yeah.
them to be impactful. But
Yeah.
then if the less you have, the more power you're giving them. So selecting those words, selecting those phrases, you know, letting the pictures complement the words so that the words can be fewer, so that when you're reading, I don't, this has nothing to do with books. Sometimes I talk to my kids a lot, not sometimes, often I talk to my kids a lot. And whether it's how's your day at school, pick up this, do this, how's this, how can you come here and do it? Sometimes they stop listening.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they truly stop listening, right? And so I honestly say, or now I don't even say, I go to removing my voice. What has more power? Do this. How did you pick up your clothes? Did you get the lunch packed? Let me take a look at this. This needs edits, blah, blah, blah. Or
Hmm.
just that silence right now wasn't overly comfortable,
Yep.
right? Right.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a real world demonstration of less is more. And if we're talking at a lot of times, my experience only, if I'm writing, because I am an initial overwriter, so
Yeah.
I'm writing and I'm getting it all out, the true meaning is lost. Maybe I've got some great analogies. Like I said, I've got flowery words. Maybe a sentence here and there is evoking a feeling, but it's lost.
Yeah.
It's lost in this,
Yep.
right? And that's where less is more. So give that less more power and take, a chance to step back and breathe.
Yeah.
And I feel like as soon as I stop talking, everyone in my house starts paying attention.
I love
including
that.
my husband.
It works for adults too. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
I
That's a good
love
strategy
that.
for all ages.
That's a great strategy for all ages and for writing your not just children's books, but honestly any book, because you can overwrite. I don't write children's books. I write adult books and I overwrite too. But I know I'm going back and cutting. So it's fine
Yes.
to get it out in the draft.
Yes.
So you've got this on lock. Like you've done this several times now. You're doing more
Yep.
books. What kind of obstacles have you faced anywhere along the way, whether in the writing, the publishing, the marketing? What have been the biggest challenges for you?
Well, the number one is time. And I don't think that I'm alone in saying that. I'm sure every single person listening or watching can say, I don't have time either. Um, and so, but it is still a real obstacle that we have to get around. For Grow Love, my last book that was published, I truly did it at 3 in the morning. I mean, that
Wow.
was honestly, my work time was truly 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Um, People will ask me, what's your favorite part about the book? And that I got it done. That is truly the favorite part. I mean, honestly, that it's done. I can go back and look at pages and I'm like, oh, I don't love that. Yeah, this is really great. Oh, this would have been stronger.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know if you're ever gonna, I think the important takeaway from that is you still got to do it. You got to move forward
Yeah.
because I could be sitting on it, not have published it, and years later, still be wanting to make change. It's like painting your wall. In a couple years, do you still love the color? Maybe not. What about the artwork? You might want to change that up a little. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the nature, right? The longer we wait, hold on something and sit on something, the more changes that are just going to come.
It's
So I think
limitless.
getting
You could keep doing it
limitless,
forever. Yeah.
absolutely. So time and really, I don't know if I recommend doing it at 3 in the morning. That actually just worked for me. I was not setting an alarm clock. I think it was just on my mind and on my heart. And I was naturally waking up. And, you know, that time worked for me. I was really busy, as everybody is. I don't think anyone's just sitting around idle time,
Yeah. I
or at
mean,
least
but
not many.
you could have just lay in bed and ruminated, right? Like, I mean, a lot of us wake up at 3 in the morning and we just lie there and we just kind of think, oh, I still have that book to write. I still have all these things to do. But you actually got up
Yeah.
and did it.
Well, and I think you just have to ask yourself, how much do you want it? How badly do you want it?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at any point, I'm 45, and I could say at 46, I could either have another book published or I could not have another book published, but I'll be 46 no matter what. Time's still
Yeah.
ticking on, it's still moving along. I'm still going to be at that next phase of life. So, what do I want to have accomplished or not accomplished? And I think once, you have that personal conversation with yourself, and, whether it's about writing a book or truly about anything, I think that becomes your motivation to say, well, then I've got to do something.
Yeah. No, I
And
agree.
I've got to move that forward.
I agree. And you are moving forward. I mean, you're going on, this is going to be your fourth book coming up. This is your third. So your
Third book.
so with Grow Love was your second?
It was. Yep.
And so you ran a really interesting promotion book drive with that in December. You want to talk a little bit about that and what inspired it?
Yeah. So, actually, it came about just innocent enough where I was talking with someone from a foster care agency. And, they were talking about the need for books, children having books. And with children in foster care, which I am very involved with, children have limited belongings
Yeah.
that move with them and is actually theirs. So, I just had enough conversation about that, and just, and that was that. And then later on, I was at just a book event that I was doing, and someone was looking at my books, and they're like, "Oh, I love this. I just don't have anyone to buy the book for. Their kids are too old, and not yet a grandma." This personal story that I was talking to, or the person I was talking with, and so she's like, "Oh, I just wish that I could, donate the book." And so I was like, huh, interesting. Well, what happens if I ran a campaign where people could purchase the book if they wanted to? And I worked with a foster care agency. I ended up working with 3 foster care
Oh,
agencies. So it
wow.
was really successful. It was awesome. And you could sponsor a book for the child, have a nameplate inside the book saying, gifted with love by whatever you wanted to put. And then I went and did book readings and book signings at holiday parties for children in foster care. And they
Wow.
each got their own personalized copy of the book, including siblings. There was this one set of twins. I want to say they were about 6 years old, and they were just blown away that they each got their own book.
I
They
love
were like,
that.
we each get one. It was like, you do. And they were just like jumping and they were excited. And so it was just a phenomenal, that just accidentally happened, but it was definitely not me. It was the whole community that,
Yeah.
you know, came together and did that. And it was wonderful.
It was so great. I loved it when you did it. I did donate a book because
Yes.
one, I believe all kids deserve to have their own books, right? Libraries are great, but they can't always get to a library. And there's nothing so special as the book that you can call your own.
Yes.
And I love that you had the nameplates in there because it gave, to me, it was giving kids a sense that there's somebody out here who cares enough about you to give you this book.
That was so, I got goosebumps. I literally just got goosebumps when you said that. That was my number one. That was what was most important to me. So some people were like, oh, anonymous, or, they don't want the credit. And I was like, please, please, please. I want the children to know, like, this isn't me as an author, giving
Yeah.
books. This is a whole community. Like, and we
Yes.
had hundreds of people, a
Yeah.
whole community cheering these kids on. And what is more important? That's way more important than the book. Way
So
more important than
important.
the book.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yes.
made me so happy. I put my granddaughter's name as the person donating it. She's 3. What does she know? Right. But I put her name in there because somewhere out there there's a kid who knows that another kid gave them this book and
Yes.
cared enough to do that. That is like so exciting to me. So it was exciting to see you do it and to see that it was successful. I love that because I hear authors who have similar ideas maybe, but they're afraid to take the step to go ahead and do it.
Well,
So
and it's hard because I was in a vulnerable position, right?
yeah,
Because I'm thinking, well, you're purchasing the books. I'm benefiting as well because you're buying my book that we're then gifting to a child. And I had to remove myself. Trust me, if I could just write and illustrate and produce books and give them all away and somehow still feed my family and, pay my rent, I would do it. But I mean, who can do that? I don't think you work for free. I
it
don't
would
think
be
anybody
great,
works for free.
but we
It
can't.
would be, I mean, it would be phenomenal, right? I would love nothing more. I would love that. That would be, it's just not my reality.
Yeah,
And I think for most people, it's not, right? And
yeah,
we do this because we do have to support ourselves.
correct.
Um, and so once I was able to like kind of remove that, but this isn't about me, it is about the children. And then seeing the kids' faces,
Yeah,
talking with the foster care agencies and the executive directors and the board members and how happy they were and how happy the kids. I mean, it all came together, and because of it I can work on my next book, and we can do it again, hopefully.
yeah.
It was a great success. I haven't really thought about December of 2023 yet, but I guess it will be here
Start
before.
thinking, Kimberly. Like,
I know it comes fast. It comes really fast.
and for a person who donated, right, because you had different levels where you could donate, you didn't have to, you could spend a lot of money if you wanted to, right? Like if you just
Sure.
had money, but you didn't have to spend a lot of money and you could still really feel good about what you were doing.
Yes.
So I love
Yes.
that you organized it very, very well and you made it very
Thank you.
easy for people to participate. So I thought it was really, really great. And yes, please start
Thank
thinking
you.
about December now so that
Oh
you
my
can.
gosh. It is crazy. Well, and then it wasn't just the book. I did put together a book bundle. So I had
Okay.
made an activity kit as well, and pencils and bookmarks and stickers. So it was
Yeah.
a kit that they got, which the kids love. I mean, it was activities tied into the book, crossword
Yeah.
puzzles, drawing pages, coloring pages, sketches,
Nice.
gift tags, things like that. And so that, yeah, it was a gift. I mean, it was it
Yeah. I
was
mean,
it
so
was
for
a
me, a
unit.
book is a gift. I mean, a book
Yeah.
is
Oh,
just
of
always going to
course.
be a gift. Oh my God. And sometimes
No,
it's the
you're
gift
absolutely
that
right.
I
But it
give.
was it was a bundle.
And
Yes.
I love that because it was going to kids who don't have their own stuff, that you made it
Yes.
a full, something that felt fuller to them. Right. And so
Yes.
that they could interact with in different ways. I think that's
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes,
So what's coming up next for you? I know you have another book in the pipeline.
I do. And I'm really excited. So, first, I want to say Grow Love has its 5th year anniversary coming
Oh,
up
wow.
February 1st. It was launched for Valentine's Day. It's not necessarily a Valentine's Day book, but Grow
Yeah.
Love, and it's all about finding love and giving love and sharing love. So Valentine's Day makes good sense. So I am going to be doing some type of something as far as what's immediately next, 5 year celebration for the book.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes. However, my next book, which is planning to launch in October, Friday the 13th,
Oh, wow.
which I'm so excited about because it's a mystery. So it's also a children's book, it's a picture book, but it's a cozy mystery for children.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I love that. And I've, jumped genres and I'm just so excited about it. And it's also great to be excited about your work, right?
Yeah.
So I love writing positive messaging. I love inspiring kids, give, grow, giggle. I like to say, and I love when kids laugh and, they turn into givers themselves and,
Yeah.
want to go out and make a difference in the world. I think that's so great. And so there's definitely messages in this book. They're subtle.
Yeah.
They don't slap you in the face. It really is about entertainment. It really is about world building. And it's a mystery that you have to solve. The readers will be solving it along with the main character.
Oh, that is so much fun. I would have loved that as a kid and as a parent with my kids. Like, I think that would be
Yes,
so, so, so much fun. And that's the beauty of independent publishing. You can jump genres anytime you want.
yes, absolutely. And I think that, maybe that's even important to do so if it keeps you excited and motivated.
Mm,
So, again, the question is, but what made you get out of bed at 3 a.m. to work on it instead of just laying there?
yeah.
Well, if you're excited about something, right, and maybe you become stagnant in something that you've written, or, raising global citizens is really important to me. I've spent lots of years talking about that, developing curriculum for that. I've got a multicultural family. It's just really important to me. Um, and at the same time, I was, I don't want to say feeling stuck. It was just starting to, I felt like I was teaching too much, is what it
Yeah.
actually felt like.
I get that.
And it was weighing me down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm not a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to continue like trying to like drive these messages home and convince. Like, I definitely don't want to convince anyone of anything. Like, that doesn't align with me. And so, but so much of my identity has been tied up in that. And so with the idea of jumping genres
Yeah.
and going to a cozy mystery, it's like, but am I letting someone down? And then the
Oh,
question becomes, well, who am I letting down? Am I letting myself down? Would I be letting my children down? Am I letting my readers down? Like, who am I letting down? And I couldn't come up with a really good answer that I was actually letting anyone down.
that's the brain there, Kimberly, trying to convince you
Right?
to stay safe.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, so then once I realized, okay, I'm not letting anyone down.
Yeah.
And do I still self identify as a global citizen? Yes. Do I hope my children do? Yes. Do we incorporate lots of cultural, multicultural things, both birth cultures and just other fascinating cultures in the
Yeah.
world in our home? Yes. Like, none of that's changing. But do I have to think that I have to write the curriculum for that or talk about the pillars of being a global citizen and go
Yeah.
into like all the depth?
No,
No,
no.
no.
And global citizens can write cozy mysteries. It's fine.
Absolutely. Well, and I have to say, Mika Valentine, who is the main character, and I'm anticipating a series of books with her. She's the ultimate global citizen.
Oh, I
I
love
don't have
that.
to. I don't have to use the words. I really don't. Um, Her mannerisms, her thought process, her values, her characteristics. She's the ultimate global citizen.
That is
So if
awesome.
someone wants to dig in there and read more into it, there will be more to read
They'll find
into.
it.
They'll
They'll
find
find
it.
it.
Yep,
That is
exactly.
so awesome. I am so looking forward to that one. I have a grandchild to buy books for, so I'm still buying children's books and one more
Yes.
on the way. So I'll be buying plenty of children's books. Yeah. So
Congratulations.
thank
That's
you.
exciting.
Before I
That's
let you go, can
awesome.
you give our listeners and a lot of them are interested in children's books, just one piece of advice. If they haven't gotten started, they have an idea, but they haven't typed the first words yet, what advice would you give them?
Okay, so a few things are immediately jumping out. Well, for people who want to independently publish, just because anyone can independently publish, I don't think not everyone should without a plan and thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
And I say that because there truly is just a lot of stuff out there that just could be better, could be a lot better. Yeah. And so just because you do it, and it's this fine line, right? Because I'm also saying don't sit on something. You still have to move forward and get it done. But there still has to be a bar of excellence that you can set, that the writer can set. So set your own bar of excellence. You know, maybe it's higher than mine, maybe it's lower than mine, maybe it's right at mine. And move forward with that, and don't settle for less than that bar of excellence. Yeah. But also don't compare yourself to up here if you've never done it before and you're like, oh, but I want to be the next Judy Blume. I mean, that's awesome. So it's a balance, right? Like, I feel like I'm contradicting myself there.
You're not.
I think
you're not.
I think people who are listening or watching are going to get it. Yeah. I think that they're going to understand what I'm saying. So set your bar of excellence and achieve that. So don't just put stuff out there. And ultimately, I'm a huge, huge believer that books should have messages. They don't have to scream in your face. You don't have to say them out loud. You don't have to put them in the words or even in the illustrations. But ultimately, what is that takeaway? I think that if the reader is left feeling empty at the end, you didn't do your job yet. And so think about, what is that? What does that mean for you? And that sounds vague, and it is vague because it is personal. So what ultimately do you want to achieve with that book? And again, make sure that fits into your bar of excellence and you achieve that.
We are on the same page, my friend. You're preaching my song out here. Like, we're on the same page. So I know people are going to want to follow up with you. They're going to want to keep track of you and what's coming out and find your books. Where can people find you?
So my website is just kimberlywyman.com. I'm sure you'll have that typed up for them. Pretty simple. And on Instagram is where I'm most active out of any of the platforms.
Oh, wait, I hear quotation marks there. What's going on?
I'm active. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. You know, I think that if you can authentically show up, which I really try to be an authentic person, that you should do it. But at the same time, I feel pressure to show up.
Yeah, I get that.
Does that make sense?
100%. So everyone gets that.
Yes, I think so too. So, you know, I'm basically active on Instagram, and it's XO Kimberly Wyman is my Instagram handle.
And you had a kids activity pack that you give out as well. Where can they find that?
Oh, yes. Love notes and tags.
Okay.
And so they can print this off. There's a ton. Kids can make their own envelopes, tags, note cards.
If you're watching on YouTube, Kimberly has an example in front of us, and it's gorgeous.
Those are my children.
Oh, so cute.
If you can see.
I love that.
A number of years ago. And so that would be kimberlywyman.com/love notes.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes.
That's a free download.
I'll put it all in the show notes. You can find the free activity pack. You can find Kimberly. I'll put it all in there. Kimberly, this has been so great. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I love talking with other writers, and especially brilliant minds such as yourself. So
it's such a pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you again when that new book comes out.
Oh, please. I am so excited.
Me too.
So
it sounds super fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Candace.
That's all for this week's episode, my friends. Thanks for listening to Nothing But the Words. I'm your book coach, Candace L. Davis, and I'll see you next time.